team of over 15 people. You can see exactly what roles we have hired: leading, managing, and accountability, $70K a month. In the last year, we went from running a 2-man operation of just myself and my business partner to scaling our business to having a team of over 15 people working together to help grow this entire business efficiently. So I'm going to show you kind of how we track that, how we manage that. At this point, I'll be honest, I don't even think I can name all of the employees off the top of my head without, forgetting one or two, simply because of the fact that there's a lot going on and all of it works as a cohesive unit to make everything scale and grow and just function efficiently. And so I'm going to show you how we manage that, how we organize it, and how we keep track of what positions we have filled and the positions we plan to fill in the future and what each role is responsible for. Because without having this tracked, it becomes very difficult, especially once you pass the 8-10 employees, to remember exactly what every person's supposed to doing, making sure they're fulfilling all their roles. When things go wrong, you know who's responsible for what. When things go right, you know who's responsible for what. So I'm going to show you how we manage all of that here. So it all starts with the org chart. So let's take a look at this here. So if we come down to this here, you can see this is our org chart. And so what an org chart is it's simply organizing your business, all the roles that you have, what each one's responsible for, who reports to who. And this is how you can organize everything inside of the business. And so I'm going to zoom in here and kind of walk you through all the roles that we have currently and the roles we plan to fill in the future, what each role is responsible for, and kind of how we keep it all working efficiently. Look, if you don't have an org chart, I highly, highly recommend you create one for your business, even if it's super small. You might be the only person in your business, but I still recommend creating an org chart of what roles you want the business to have in the future. Because as you can see here, we have some boxes that are black and some that are white. The black boxes are the ones that are currently filled by somebody. This role is currently being done by somebody in our business. You will also see that there's white boxes. The white boxes are roles that we don't have hired yet. Nobody's doing these roles yet, either because we're not a large enough business to where we need these yet, or we just haven't hired anyone yet. There's one person doing multiple roles. You'll see I do quite a few. You'll see Nick, who's of course the co-founder, does quite a few as well, because we still wear a few hats in the business, and eventually we'll hire these roles. We also have some team members that do multiple roles as well. I'll break it all down for you so you can see this. So first thing, let's go ahead and zoom in here. All right, zoom in a bit more. Perfect. All right, so let's full screen this here. And let's go up. So as you can see, you have myself and Nick, who's of course the co-founder, at the top here. I'll start with my side here. Both of us are right now chief executive officers, CEOs of the company. And as you can see, our main role is cash. So the blue underneath the name is what the role is responsible for. You can see name, what their role is, what they're responsible for, and things that they do in this role. So cash is of course our main thing. Myself and Nick, it both says cash because that's what we need to do. We're running this whole business. We're overseeing everything. We need to make sure we are bringing through a good amount of cash, because I'll tell you this, if you don't have cash coming through, you do not have a business, and it will be very, very difficult to grow and scale your operation if you do not have cash consistently coming through the door. As you can see, as the CEO, you have a lot of leading, managing, and accountability. That's what the LMA stands for: leading, managing, and accountability. So there's a lot of people that report to us and people that report to people who report to us. And so this is why it's very important to have these roles clearly defined. And so we also create and innovate products, right? That's a big thing the CEO has to do, whether it's, especially in the early stages. Eventually we might hire people on whose sole job is innovating products, right? But right now it's Nick and I. We're not a massive operation, right? We're still technically considered a small business. And so we do all the culture, everything like that. We handle that because you need to have a good environment. And the CEO is responsible for setting the environment, setting the vibe, setting how the whole business operates and what it's like. You want to make it a good time for people to work here. And we work very hard on making it a fun company to work for and make sure everybody's enjoying it. And I think right now we're doing a good job. And so I think everybody enjoys it. So last thing here is research and development, which is just simply researching competitors, what we should add to the business, things we can do to improve it, things we can do just overall to improve our product, our platform, our software, and how the market responds to it and how our clients enjoy it. So those are the main things that we handle as chief executive officers. And you'll see Nick's task here say the exact same thing, also responsible for cash. The next thing we have here is head of operations. And as you can see, it's also me. And so the main thing that I am in control of here is rocks and KPIs. That's what I need to focus on. As operations, I've been handling a large portion of the operations side. And as you can see, at the beginning especially, you're going to be wearing a few hats. At the beginning, your whole org chart might just be you doing everything: the sales, the marketing, the client success, the operations, the chief executive officer. You'll be the finance manager. You'll be everything right at the very beginning until you start bringing on people, fulfilling those roles. And eventually you'll fill your whole org chart with other people doing the roles that you were once doing at the beginning. And so you can see I'm the head of operations here. Again, I lead, manage, and hold people accountable. Eventually, we will have people below who are also part of the operations team, but right now, it's just me. It's just me handling all the operations. I'm in charge of removing the bottlenecks and the barriers, reporting and data tracking, because I track all the numbers. We have very detailed tracking for everything. We track all metrics in the business, and so I'm able to see the data. Nick also takes a look at the data, and we make educated decisions using the data on certain things to improve, certain things to change, certain things to scale, certain things to keep going as they are. All that sort of stuff is part of the operations role, the head of operations. And so one thing here is, as you can see, this is a white box. So we don't have this role filled yet. Black box, we do have it filled. As you can see, it's me. So eventually we will need to hire a head of operations, but right now I can handle. So the next thing you can see here is executive assistant. As you can see, I don't have an executive assistant. This is something we do need to get fairly soon, I believe. A lot of people do recommend getting executive assistants fairly early. And the main thing for this is to just save time on administrative tasks, the emails, the calendars, scheduling, all this sort of stuff that is tedious, but that you can easily have somebody replace for you, is something that you need an executive assistant to do. And so that's something in the future I don't have right now, but do want to have it in the future. Now, if we head over to this side here, you can see this is kind of the bookkeeping side of things, right? We have our bookkeeper and we have an accountant. So accountant, as you can see, it's a white box. We don't have this filled yet. We do have somebody who will be our accountant, but this is our first year in business, right? Our fiscal year end is December 31st. So at that point in time, we will have our accountant, help us with taxes and everything like that. But for right now, we haven't had to use them yet. So we will soon, and this box will become black, but right now it's white. And their main role is tax savings and investment growth, right? They will help us with tax saving strategies. Of course, that's the biggest thing. Investment strategies, asset protection strategies. We've already been speaking to our accountant and our bookkeeper, which I'll mention in a second, on how we can best go about paying ourselves out, saving as much as we can on taxes. It's the best way to operate as a business, to pay as little as possible in taxes while still saving money and growing the business, right? And the next thing here is our bookkeeper. This bookkeeper, we do pay monthly, and he organizes our books every month. As you can see, his name's Jonah. He organizes and updates the books. This is very important because at the end of every month, we have a lot of expenses. We have a lot of money coming in, coming out. Or I guess I say a lot of money, but it's subjective, right? Right now, to us, it's a lot, but to some people watching this, it might be very little, right? And so we have a lot of money coming in, a lot of money going out. Our bookkeeper tracks all of that, all the expenses, all the revenue, everything like that. It creates cash flow statements, balance sheets, income statements, everything that we need to track, all the statements, everything like that, all done inside of QuickBooks. And he takes care of all of that, and we pay him monthly to do that. So that's very, very useful because it's not something that I would, want to spend my time doing necessarily. It's not the best use of my time as the business owner, right? And also the head of operations and head of sales and all that sort of stuff I'll get into in a second here. So next thing here, I'll head down to head of finance, and look at that. What a surprise. It's your boy again. So as you can see, head of finance, main role here is profit and loss, of course. And so this is something we will eventually hire for as well. But right now I do handle the finance, and look below that, human resources, your boy again. I also handle the payroll and everything, and company onboarding, offboarding for the most part. So with this, I manage, and hold accountable the human resource guy here because, I need to make sure he stays on track. And I, handle all the financial reporting, the budgeting, and compliance, and everything like that. We track all the revenue and stuff inside of separate sheets outside of QuickBooks, which our bookkeeper handles. We track everything else internally as well. And so I handle all of that as well. And then also human resources. Technically, I handle the human resources right now just because I handle all the payroll. I pay our whole team every, twice a month. And so I also handle a lot of the company onboarding, offboarding. Nick does this as well though, and also our setting manager, which I'll show in a second. But I just kind of threw me in here because we don't have a designated human resource person yet. We will eventually though. And so as you can see here, a couple white boxes, right? So white box, as you can see, legal. We don't have a lawyer on retainer or anything like that. We will eventually, but right now we don't. So it's a white box. And so as you can see here, this makes it very useful for just tracking everything because I know what roles we have filled, who's doing what roles, and what roles we need to hire for in the future. That's why I highly recommend you create an org chart. Maybe take you 30 minutes to an hour, depending how big your company is. And then you have everything in place and you can really keep track of who's doing what roles are being fulfilled by which person. And you might notice that you're doing a lot of things that you can maybe hire people for that will get you a better bang for your buck. Back to this here. Head of billing and support. Technically, we don't have anybody for this yet, so it's a white box, right? Dispute percentage and lost customer percentage. This is stuff we want somebody to handle. They lead, manage, and hold accountable the people below, support agents. And again, this person might be the same as this person for a little bit before we have two. All sort of stuff, managing payments, refunds, chargebacks. We're not a big enough operation yet to where it makes sense to have somebody handling this role solely, right? It just doesn't make sense for us. So we don't have anybody doing this yet. Technically, you could say maybe I do that. Nick does it as well. So there's nobody who does that specifically yet. And then support agents. So right now, this would be kind of myself handling this and Nick again as well. Support management, everything like that. It depends. If it's a platform issue, our developers handle that. If it's kind of an internal company issue, myself and Nick handle that for the most part. So that's kind of where we're at with this right now. As you can see, white boxes, nobody has this role filled yet, but we do plan to hire for it in the future. So as soon as this is hired for, we turn these black boxes, write their names, and we can keep track of who does what. All right, so next thing we have up here is sales. Oh, and look at that. It's your boy once again. Jack's sales director. I'm technically the sales director, and I'm also the main salesperson as well. I take all the sales calls still. Closer is the last role that we have to hire for in terms of kind of the main core. As you can see, billing management, all sort of stuff. I kind of consider outside of the main core group of employees that we need, but sales is the last thing we have to hire for. So as you can see, I'm technically the sales director, and I will be the sales director for a little bit, or head of sales, until we really get a closer who's crushing it and can move him up to that and bring on a new closer underneath him. As you can see, as the salesperson, my main goal is new cash and dollar per call, right? I need to close deals. I need to bring in revenue. I need to make sure my close rate's good, all that sort of stuff. And so I lead, manage, and hold accountable this salesperson below, which is myself again. And so I do that as sales process optimization, manage the sales process. We have a good sales process in place where I'm not going to go too in depth. I'll make a separate video kind of breaking down the whole sales process, and I already have one on my channel as well that you can check out. And quality control, just making sure we're getting good quality calls coming through, because there is, a chance that bad quality calls come through, and we don't want to be having that happen. And just making sure overall everything is functioning properly. And the salesperson itself. So take the sales calls, set client expectations, and accurate reporting to the team. So after I close a deal here, I fill out a form with all the information, how much they paid up front, whether it was a PIF, a 2 installment, 3 installment, information about the close, the closing angle I took, how ready they are to get started, their background. And I submit all of this to our client success manager, who I'll show you in a second here. But that's all part of the salesperson as well. And closing the deals, of course, is the core of it. Then we have our coordinator, our sales coordinator, Josh, who's absolutely amazing. He was actually our 3rd ever team member. He's crushing it. He's been with us since the start. And so it's actually been awesome to have him on the team this whole time. And so he is the sales coordinator. And you'll also see he's also our head of client success, which I'll get to in a second. And so he triages booked calls, qualifies bookings, and deep dive into prospects and pass to salesperson. So we have a lead come from the pipeline, right? A lead books an appointment. Josh then calls them. He almost does a first call, a qualifying call, confirms they're financially qualified, confirms that they're looking to get started soon, that they're the main decision maker, and deep dives about them. Almost does a main qualifying call. It's between 10 and 30 minutes usually. And then he submits all that information in a form to me, the salesperson. And then he also, submits all that information, lets me know if they're qualified financially, looking to move forward right away, if they're the main decision maker. And he also rates them 1 out of 4. 1 being he can just cancel them himself. 2 being they're, maybe not financially qualified, or they're missing one of the main things there. 3 is they have all of the things and they're most likely a good prospect. 4 is they're pretty much just getting on the call to pay. They don't need any more info. They're ready to go right away. That's kind of the system we have. I'll add that into a separate video as well, because that was kind of a quick overview. All right, so the last thing on the left side here is the setting team. So right now we have our setting manager and 2 setters. And so our setting manager, Angelo, he's the setting team leader. He's in charge of a number of setter booked calls. And again, leading, managing, and holding accountable the setters, hiring and training setters. He brings on the setters, interviews them, trains them, onboards them, everything like that. Quality control, just making sure everything is going well internally in the team. Accountability, making sure that they are doing the work they need to. They're clocking in on time. They're hitting the KPIs, which leads into the next one here, hitting KPIs. They're getting booked appointments, all this sort of stuff. And so the setter's main role, we have 2 setters right now. Their main goal is booking appointments and messaging and nurturing leads, right? Pretty clear what setters do. They message inside the school community or go high level, everything like that, message the leads and book them in for appointments. And so a lot of people may be wondering, hey, why do you have a setting team leader when you only have 2 setters? And so Angelo is honestly a very, very key, crucial member of the team, because he handles quite a lot of work that would be very time consuming for Nick and myself. And as you can see, I'm the head of sales, I'm the finance director, I'm the head of operations, the CEO, all this sort of stuff. I'm still wearing a lot of hats. And so Angelo really takes a lot of weight off our shoulders by managing the setters. He trains them, he onboards new setters, interviews them, which ends up saving us so much time with things that may not be the best use of our time compared to these other tasks that we have to do. So that's why we have a setting manager right now. All right, let's scroll on over to the other side here. So as you can see so far, this is very good at keeping everything organized, right? You can see exactly what roles we have hired, who we need to hire, and it's very good at looking at what each person's doing, right? Makes it easy. When people make mistakes or shit goes wrong in the business, you can take a look at who is responsible for it. Because if you take a look here, let me go back over here. If you take a look at, hey, the data was messed up. you can take a look at this here and see who's in charge of the data and tracking. It's me. So it was my fault, right? Or we can say, for example, a prospect got through that wasn't qualified at all. How'd they get on the sales call? Then we can come look. Josh is in charge of qualifying bookings, so we know it's his fault, right? And so also if things do very good, you can go to these people and say, hey, you know who did it, where this good work came from, because you know exactly what each person's responsible for. So let's get back into this here. Media director, right here. Again, you can see this is not a role that we have hired for right now. Media director will be in charge of number of unique organic reach and number of organic book calls. We don't have a media director right now. We have 2 media creators, which is of course myself and Nick, filming and uploading media. That's what I'm doing right now, creating a YouTube video, providing value to you guys, helping you understand how we operate our business so you can do the same. So we don't have anybody managing us. It's just Nick and I doing it. But we do have people who edit our videos and everything, which I actually didn't put on here. But we do have editors. They're not technically part of the team. They're just subcontractors. So they're not in-house content people yet. So that's why I didn't put them on here. But we do have an editor who edits our videos and everything. And so we don't have a media director, but when we do, they will be in charge of leading, managing, and holding accountable Nick and I to make sure we get videos out when we're supposed to. We're recording content when we're supposed to, and also our social media manager who's supposed to post the videos when we're supposed to, and also eventually our editor as well, who is supposed to edit our videos when they're supposed to. They give us, media ideas, structure to the videos, media system management optimization, analytics review, telling us what we're doing good, what we're doing bad, how we can improve our videos, all this sort of stuff. Maybe click-through rate's terrible, maybe average view duration sucks. Whatever the case is, they will help us with that. And as you can see, that's roles we do want to get hired in the future. Now, if we come over here, we can see first I'll show Nick's executive assistant, same as what I mentioned before. We don't have these hired, but Nick and I would, of course, each have our own executive assistants who manage all our administrative tasks, right? Our schedule, our calendar, booking appointments, sending invites to other people, emails, managing the follow-ups internally inside of our inbox, all that sort of stuff that is kind of little tedious administrative work. That's what the executive assistant's for. And we do plan to both have our own in the future. All right, now getting into the software engineer side of things. As you know, we're a software company, right? We have all the main components that almost every business has, right? Operations, sales, setting, marketing, all this sort of stuff, client success. But not every business, unless they're a software company, of course, has a developer team. So I'm going to show you how we structure that and what it looks like. So let's take a look here. First, we have a project manager. Right now, our developer team is not too big to where we need a project manager, but we will eventually. So right now, Christopher, who's our head engineer, is almost our project manager as well. But eventually, he'll just be head engineer. And he's actually also going to become our CTO. But for right now, he's head engineer. And then we also have eventually a product manager who will be in charge of organizing engineering team and tasks. He'll be in charge of, again, leading, managing, and holding accountable all the engineers, which you'll see here is our whole engineer team. Source and hire new engineers, interview them, onboard them, everything like that. Manage the tasks they're doing, ensure deadlines are being met, because that's a thing with software is deadlines always get pushed. And so we need to make sure that we're hitting things because a lot of people are relying on our platform and making sure we're hitting the deadlines for new features and improvements for hitting new features, improvements, bug fixes, all that sort of stuff. And then we have Christopher, who is actually our first ever team member. He's been with us since the very start. He's now our head engineer, and his main role is, of course, leading the engineering team. And you'll see he's also a backend engineer. He also does a lot of the backend work. He's also our backend dev. He's amazing doing backend dev work. He crushes it. And so he does both. And so he's in charge of leading, managing, and holding accountable all our developers here. Ensure engineers are clear on tasks and accountability. So he's kind of has an overlap with project manager skill set right now and tasks. Now, heading into our developers. So we have Sanmeet, who's actually an engineering intern. He's in university right now. He's one of Nick's friends from school, and he's actually an intern. So he does kind of one-off tasks every now and then on the back end of the platform. And we have Daniel, who's a subcontractor for the front end. So he'll come in, he'll do when we need him. When our engineer team is really swamped and we need more front end work done, we have Daniel come in and handle those on kind of a per sprint basis. Christopher, who's our back end dev, does a ton of the back end work with the platform, really deals with, the messy kind of back end code base, all that sort of stuff. Favin, who's a front end eng, he also does a bit of back end work here and there as well. He's a full stack dev, but focuses primarily on the front end. If you guys see, our UI, our improvement to NodeScript, which we recently launched, all this sort of stuff, he did a lot of the work on the front end there along with Christopher. But Favin is very, very good on the front end. Very, very good. He's been a great addition to the team as well. And Paul, who's also a front end dev. Paul is also a full-time front end dev. He handles a lot of the front end work as well. Again, a lot of the features that you see on the front end, he played a part in as well. And then we have a fulfillment engineer, which you'll see he has 2 arrows coming to here. One from the client success team and one from the engineering team, because he's our solutions engineer. So he handles done-for-you client fulfillment. we have our end users who come to us and need very complex builds. Roger handles them. He does the builds for them. Then we also have our partners from our partner program who close clients and they need us to do the builds for them. Roger handles those as well. So he handles client done free fulfillment for AI builds, and he handles communication with clients. So he does quite a bit. Roger's very, very good at what he does. He's a very good communicator as well, and great at developing as well, great engineer. And so he handles the client fulfillment and client success side of things when people are doing their builds, communicates with them, hops on calls with them, launches their AI, all that sort of stuff. So that's our engineering team. As you can see out of this, majority of them are black boxes, right? Which means we have these positions filled. Eventually our dev team will grow. We will bring on more developers. But right now, the only role that in the engineering team that is not filled is a project manager, which we will have in the future once our dev team grows and we need it. All right, so if we head up here, again, we have Nick as the client or the chief executive officer. Then we also have Nick technically as head of client success or the client success director. What he handles here is new cash and time to launch. What this means is he leads, manages, and holds accountable Josh, who's our main client success manager right now. And he client success process optimization, streamlines everything in there to make sure it's going as good as possible. From the sales call to the closed deal to the onboarding to the client roadmap to the client seeing great results. Nick handles a good portion of optimizing that, majority of it, and making sure everything is going well in terms of client success. Clients are loving it, everything like that. Collecting and actioning client feedback. That's one thing we are very, very proficient with is we make sure all our partners are fully transparent with us. Things they like, things they don't like, giving us feedback on what we can improve, what they love, everything like that. We need to know it all so we can make the best program possible and the best software possible. And Josh, who you may have also noticed was our sales coordinator, right? He also is our main client success manager. He takes coaching calls, he handles client success, back-end sales, and collecting client feedback. So Josh communicates with the majority of the clients. He handles most of the back and forth with the clients. He onboards them after they close, gets them set up with everything, sets the next steps for them, and ultimately is communicating with them back and forth majority of the time to make sure they are seeing good results and they're enjoying everything. And then, of course, like I mentioned, it connects to Roger, who Josh also communicates with. And then if we come over here, we have the marketing side of things. So Nick is also technically our head of marketing, which again, these roles we will want to hire for so that Nick doesn't need to do them as much himself. But right now he does take care of them the most. And so number of taking calls is the main thing. He manages, and holds accountable our marketing team, which as you can see, majority of which is not hired for. But we do have a copywriter, and Nick handles managing him and holding him accountable for the most part as well. Marketing process optimization. Nick handles majority of the ads, setting up the Facebook ads, the budgeting, make sure the ads are performing, optimizing the ads, everything like that, to the funnel, to the booking, converting, everything like that. Nick handles majority of it. There's a lot of things that go into marketing, which is why you can see there's a lot of different roles here that we plan to hire for in the future. Branding as well, Nick does help with a lot on the marketing side as well, making sure the ads, funnel, everything's congruent with one another. And then as the only role we do have hired for already in the marketing process is a copywriter. He handles all the copywriting for our emails, our school posts, our reminders, everything like that. Mo handles, and he's great at it. Multiple posts per week in the school, crafting lead magnets, weekly call reminders, all that sort of stuff he handles. And things we do want to hire for in the future is conversion rate optimizer, which focuses exclusively on conversion rates. Funnels, copywriting, split testing ads, split testing funnels, so we can see what converts more, email campaigns, SMS campaigns, all this sort of stuff, which is why there's separate roles for kind of each individual thing. Because eventually, if we have a ton, if we're spending, like right now, we're spending about $400 a day on ads. Eventually, we'll get to the point where we're spending, $2,000, $5,000, $10,000 a day on ads. That's when each of these roles become very, very crucial to focus tunnel vision on one thing. And then media buyer focuses exclusively on ads, right? Media buying, which is handling the ads, optimizing the ads, split testing the ads, all that sort of stuff, making sure their main focus is a good return on ad spend. Hyros accurate tracking, which Hyros is just a detailed ad tracking platform, which shows you very detailed with AI how your ads are performing across platforms, all that sort of stuff. And finding the winning ad formula is the main thing here as well. And then a community manager. So this is for our school. So if you don't know, we have a free school community in Study AI Academy where we just show everything about starting and selling AI infrastructure and how to use our platform. And so we have a community manager whose sole role is really optimizing and make sure the community is flowing, lots of engagement, everything like that. Welcome new community members, a weekly newsletter, community posts and responses, all this sort of stuff would be their main role. And so that's the main marketing section. So as you can see, that is everything in our org chart. So I know this was quite a bit. This is a decent length video, but I wanted to show you everything that we do in here. As you can see, this is very, very valuable for knowing exactly what's going on in the business. This took me maybe an hour and a half to make, to have everything laid out, very organized. So that way we do know what each person's responsible for, what each person's doing in the business. If things go wrong, who's responsible? If things go right, who's responsible? Everything like that is why you have an org chart. I highly recommend you do this. And this is breaking down exactly how we were able to scale our business in less than a year from two-man operation of just myself and Nick to now a team of over 15 people making over 70K a month. And so we will continue scaling this business. We're eventually going to have, 30, 50, 100 people, 100 plus people. But right now, this is where we're at. I'll make another video like this, kind of periodically showing you where we're at with hires and growing the business and everything like that. But this is Instead AI. This is the team we have built right now. And this is just the beginning of scaling our company.